My name is Brian Watkins, and this is a video tutorial for Accounting 386. This is the Speed Trial 3 video. So what to do this test, you'll have it in your hand. You'll see I rewrote it in the form of just a check the boxes, go all the way down. Make sure you know how to do it. So get a copy in your hand, and let's start by downloading and opening the test file. Okay, I have my test file. I'll enable it. Enable the macros. Alright, this should be self-explanatory at this point. So I'm going to start. I've opened it now. I can check that box. Now I'm going to rename the file. So make sure that you follow along and you create, I'll just call it my documents, and I get to say solution, because that's my job. You put your name there, that's your job. Alright, so make sure you save your work as you go along. Next thing, you are the accounts receivable clerk charged with improving collections. You have data here that you'll recognize that has to do with the accounts receivable function, and I'll pull this down so you can see all of your various worksheets are available. Okay, make sure your developer tab is on. Okay, I've got mine. Go to your Visual Basic and look at your module. So module 1, you have two macros. Okay, you have a restart macro and a go to end macro. So let's see if those work. So we'll go to the end. Yep. And we'll go back to the beginning. Okay, the macros are running. Check. Open developer to the VBA edit screen. Check sheet 1. Sheet 1 has ActiveX controls with VBA for the spin button. Okay, so make sure that your spin button is present and it's working just fine. Alright, check that off. Now we're going to go back to our worksheet and we're going to create a column here, call it control. And this one is going to be a range of colored boxes that help us to instantly visually see what the status of an account is. So first thing let's do is let's create a named range. Okay, it's called control. It starts on row 9. Good to go. Check that off. Now we're going to, let's go to the top and we're going to put some information in. So I'm going to center and we'll bold it and we'll call this the red status. Okay, and I'm going to have, for each status, I'm going to have the days and the amount. Okay, I'm not going to bold that. But what I will do is make my screen a little bit bigger. There we go. Let's widen the B column a bit. Okay, now I'm going to have a green status, good and bad, and my green status will have days, have an amount. Okay, let's make those non-bold. Okay, then I'm going to have a, let's call this AR limit. And we'll have a limit there. And we'll name this cell. So let's name our cells. We're going to have red days. We're going to have red amount. We're going to have, whoops, make sure you're in your name box. There we go. Green days, enter. Second time I've done that. Okay, let's go up, down, and back. Green amount. And then, doesn't like that. So I'll just call this credit limit. How's that? Alright, so let's put in some amounts here. Okay, it says credit limit is $2,500. And it wants to make it a date. Let's overturn that. There we go. Green days would be 50. Green amount would be 215. I'm getting these off the face of the test. Red days would be 235. Red amount 2,000. Okay, I'm going to take all of these and I'm just going to take off the bold and make them comma format with no decimals. All right, and then finally down here, I'm going to, let's see, we have to put an effective date to measure our days, but we're not going to do that yet. So we'll go back up to my list. And my list says that now we're going to make the control cells change color. All right, to do that, we'll take the control column, okay, I'm going to shrink the screen just a bit. Okay, so with the control column all selected, now we can do our conditional formatting. And the first rule we're going to have is if our AR balance, okay, and we want this to be able to float by row, but stay in the column, is greater than our credit limit, then we're going to make this black. Because it should never happen. If it happens, there's something really wrong. All right. Okay, so the black showed up there. That's correct. Our next rule will be the red rule. Okay, and so I'm looking at my test, and my test says I have an and. So I'm going to say and, open parenthesis, and I'm going to look at, let's look at my amount. So here we're going to take off the, you want that $sign. If you hit F2, then you can edit in here without it picking that up. Okay, so we're going to have column K is going to contain the AR balance, and if my AR balance is greater than my red amount, which I will type here, red amount, comma, and if my oldest sale, which is J9, is greater than my red days, then that's true, and I want to see this in red. Okay, so let's just check that. K9 is my AR balance. If my AR balance is greater than red amount 2000, J9 is my birthday. Oh, I don't want J, I want L. L9. So if L9, red days, and that has my oldest sale, so if it's greater than 235, and both of those are true, I've got a red account. Okay? And remember, let's go back. What we're going to do is we're going to stop, let's reorder it. We'll have black first, stop if it's true, and then stop if red's true, and now let's do a new one. And this one will be the green one. So we're going to say, or, we have the same two types of tests, but we're going to look for less than or equal to 215 days. So my days are in the L column. Okay, and if my days are less than or equal to green days, or if my K column in the 9th row relative is, let's see here, is less than 50. So if either of those are true, oh, I don't want to say 50. I want to say green amount. Either of those are true. Let's make that a green. All right. Got to close that OR. Okay. And I'm going to push that to the bottom and stop if true. And I just want to make sure I didn't use numbers here. Red amount, red days. Good. Okay. So I've got my formulas all done. So now I'm going to edit. Sorry, I'm going to do a new rule and say, as long as I've got a number in my K column, as long as they owe me something, K is greater than 0, and we're going to make that a yellow. Okay, so if K9 is greater than 0, we've got yellow, and I'll push that to the bottom. Okay, and it will stop there anyway. So let's say OK. And see, manage rules. And OK, that should be it. All right, it's not working. Let's push that around. There's a red, there's a green, so it's my yellow that's not working. So I'm going to go back. Additional formatting. Yellow. Oh, I've noticed this a couple times now, and I'm glad we had this happen again. If it puts double quotes around, it just treated my formula as if I was typing text. Say apply. Now it looks like I have everything done. All right. Okay, now we're seeing a lot of yellow because our effective date is going to be a few days ago. Right now our days are off, so everything looks worse than it really is. All right, so let's check the box here. Did you use conditional format? Yes, we did. Did we name ranges? Yes, we did. Okay, check that box. Okay, now we're going to create a VBA script that will ask user for a date, check that date, and put it in the right cell. Well, let's choose the right cell. So we're going to take merge and center, bold, and we're going to have an effective date. And then below it, let's merge a cell. And as you know, merge cells take the upper left address. So this is A22, and we're going to call it effective. Okay, we'll just remember that that's effective date. All right. So that's now going to require a VBA script. And we're going to ask our user to enter a date, and then we're going to plop that date into this cell right here. Okay, so this is the VBA. Don't be overly worried about VBA. As long as you type the right thing, you're good. So sub, come up with some name for this. So we'll call it effective, for effective date. Okay, and we're going to have a report date as a string, and we're going to have accept date as a string. All right, so we're going to use those two variables, and actually I'm not sure if accept date is going to be a string, but we'll go back and fix that if we have to. So we're going to do a series of commands, and we're going to have two loops inside, one inside of the other. So the first one, the deepest one, is going to say go get, a report date from the user. And we're going to use the input box function. So the prompt inside the box is going to be enter the effective date. We don't need to. for aging the receivables. Okay. And let's concatenate with it. CHR10 is the VBA for an empty line. Okay, now I'm going to put this on a line. So what I'm going to do is do a space underscore enter. And that VBA will treat this as one continuous long line. So now what I want to type for my second line is use the regular date format. Month, month, day, day, year. Okay. So we have our message, comma. What's the title of our box? We'll just call it Accounts Receivable Aging, comma. What's the default in our box? Well, what we're going to do is we're just going to put like yesterday's date as a default. So we're going to use the format command, and our expression is going to be the date minus 1. And oops, and we'll put 4 years. Okay, so there's our format. We're not going to change the size or do anything else. The X position, Y position puts it in different places on the screen. We're not going to worry about that. Okay, so once we've collected our report date, we're now going to ask a question. Okay, so if the function isDate is not true, then we're going to report to our user, please enter a valid date, because our test just told us that that wasn't the case. And we're going to put a full stop on that one. Okay, that's the critical. So I hit tab, I think, to pull that in. All right. Now, we're going to go back and forth. We're going to do a loop here until isDate report date is true. Okay? I don't have to say isDate equal to true. It just, that's the way the program works. Until that condition isDate is true. Okay, so assuming that we get a true condition in isDate, now what we're going to do is we're going to take and make it a date. So we're going to say report date equals format. Okay, change. CDate is a function that's going to make report date a date. This function would fail if isDate wasn't true. So we have to put this loop for isDate above this so that our VBA doesn't collapse when we go to this step I'm typing right now. Okay. Now we're going to do a message box, and we're going to spit back out what they did. So you entered space, and then we're going to have the report date. Remember, when you're in VBA, there has to be a blank space before and after the and in your concatenate. So, as the effective date for the report. And then I'm just going to get a VB yes or no button. Okay, finally the title is going to be accounts. Here, let's do that page trick again. So space underscore enter. Okay, so now I'm on my title, accounts receivable aging. Okay, now I used the parentheses on this message box because we had the extra step of getting the buttons in it. Okay. Now, we're going to do the loop here. Actually, let's just tab this. This has nothing to do with making it work, but it helps you to see what's going on with my loop. So my loop here goes until accept date equals the VB yes button. Okay, so those two loops get us to the point where we have, well, we don't need these blank lines. Now we have a good report date, so we're going to spit it out into range A, it looks like A22 equals report date. And then we end our sub. All right. Now, VBA rarely works the first time around, but let's give it a shot. So we're going to go, let's step through our code by doing debug step. Looks like I have 2 end subs. So I got rid of 1. Okay. Input box, 1013, that's yesterday's date. I want it to be 10/1/2016. Let's go back to the first of the month. Okay, now it's going to check report date, see if it's in good date format. And it is. Otherwise, it would have gone to please enter valid date. Okay, so this is true now, so that'll go past this loop. Okay, it's going to change the format of the variable to a date variable. You don't see anything different happen, but the type has changed. Now it's going to say, you entered 10/1 as the effective date for the report? Yes, I did. Okay, so accept date equals 6. That's a VB yes. So I guess I could put accept date as an integer if I wanted to. All right, and then I'm going to say A22 equals report date, and it popped up in A22. So my code has worked. So I'll close my editor. I'll go to the internet, and I'll say calendar icon. Here's a bunch of them. I'll just pick one. Save image as icon. Go back to my project. And then I'm going to say insert picture. The last thing I have here is icon. Okay, it's way too big. I'll shrink it down. Shrink. Put it right underneath. Right click. Assign macro. Effective. You're seeing all my other macros. This workbook has just these. So we're going to say effective. Okay. Click out of it. All right. So let's see if it works. Click. Whoops, I'm still in break mode because I was checking everything out. So I go VBA. See, I hadn't finished. F8. Now I'm done. Or I could hit this reset button. All right. So now, click. There it is. I say, how about 9/30/2016? Is that the date I want? Yes. It changed it. All right, so that's my effective date now. Now, remember, effective date doesn't do anything until you go back to your oldest sale and you change today to effective. Okay? So remember that your oldest sale was computing based on a flat number, and we're going to have to go down now and change everything. Okay. So now, if we go, we should see a few more greens. We're not. Okay. And I think that that's going to do it. All right, let's go back to our list. Okay, I was trying to figure out why my effective date change wasn't doing anything on my control. You see it's still all yellow here? You guys have probably already figured this out, but I'm a little slow. The amount is supposed to be 50, and the days are supposed to be 215. So days 215, amount 50, and now we're looking at an entirely different report. Okay, so I'm going to leave that in there. Yes, I hope I didn't lead anybody too far astray. So I'm using right here an effective date of September 15th. So if you set it up now, everything should be just like we see here on the screen. Alright, so we click that off. So now it says use macro recorder to create sort macros for black, red, and green status. Okay, now this is fairly easy. Okay, what we're going to do is use the macro recorder. So record macro, and we're going to call this one black sort. Okay, and this just sort data on control with black first, red second. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, now we're recording. So we're going to pick one cell in the middle, do Control A. I'm going to hold the Shift key down, and I'm going to back down so that I've got my data all surrounded here. So it's all selected, meaning I start at customer number and I end at control. Then I go to Data, Sort, and I'm going to sort by my control, and my order is going to sort on my cell color. And I want my black on top. I'm going to add a level now. Then by control, I'm going to sort on cell color. And then let's see our red accounts. And we'll do another level. By control, cell color. And this time we'll see our yellow amounts. So that's my black sort. So I hit OK. It sorts everything. I'm just going to select a cell there, and I'm done. So I go developer, stop recording. Okay, that's black sort. Okay, now while I'm at it, I'm going to do a resort. So I'm going to do a new one called record macro. We'll call this resort. Control A, hold the Shift key down, back my data back there, and now I'm going to sort based on, I don't want any of this, so I'm just going to have to say delete, 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 add, sort on customer number, smallest to largest. And that sorts us back the way we want it to start, so I'll turn that off. Okay, so now we have a resort. Now I'm going to do another one. This one is going to be called green sort. Okay, green sort. Control A. Back down. And data sort on control. Sort on cell color. And this one, let's add another level, and then by, and let's see what our balances are. So we'll say largest to smallest has a secondary sort. Because this sort, we're not concerned about bad accounts. We just want to see who our good accounts are. So I hit OK. It sorted them all out. It looks like I have my highest AR balance that's in the green. And so I'll just select a cell and turn it off. Alright. So I have green sort, red sort, black sort. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is be able to go back to the top. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into my Visual Basic. I'm going to look at my go to top, and from inside that macro, I'm going to say call, and then I think I called it resort. Resort. I see effect. Oh, it's probably a module 2. Not a problem. Okay, so let's look at module 2. Black sort, resort. Okay, so it's there. So I've got a black sort and a green sort, and I just put that one in here so that when I hit this, cool. So it resorted everything, started at the top, and now I'll do my last sort, which was, let's see, I had a red sort. I didn't have a red sort. So record macro, red sort. Okay, and here, Control A, hold the Shift key down. I'm just worried about getting my reds at the top. So let's do data sort by control, sort on font color, not font color, cell color. We want the reds on top, and then we want to look at the yellows, and there's going to be a ton of those, so our next level would be then by AR balance, largest to smallest. Okay, so that's our red sort. Hit OK. Click. Okay, now we want to put something to activate our macros. So if we go to Shapes, let's just use circles. So I'm going to have up here at the top one circle, and let's do another one. So we'll insert 3 of these, and we'll make them colors that correspond to our macros. Okay, so I have another one. Put that down here. And then I'll do another one. And do it down here. All right, so now we're going to make the top one the black, and we're going to assign it a macro black sort. We're going to make this one here red, and we don't want an outline. No outline. No outline. Okay, and then the red is going to get red sort, and then green outline, and green sort. There we go. Okay, so if I want to see my black, or if I want to see my red, or my green, or if I want to go back to the order that it was in before, I'm set. All right, so I checked that off my box. I've got my color circle. I've got everything triggered. Wonderful. So take a stretch. Maybe now's a good time to take a break. Hit the restroom. And then we're going to come back. And assuming that you've paused me and now you're back, we're going to start by putting in a new worksheet. Okay, and it's sheet 1 here. When I hit the plus, it came in over here. So I'm going to call this status letter. Okay, and first thing I'm going to do is go A through G, make it a 12. This is important. Do it before you do anything else, because now if I go up to page layout, or sorry, view, and page layout in the view, see, this is exactly on that margin. That's important because then when we merge these cells to type our nationwide bookseller thingy, let's do a different font. I hope I put that in the test, but if not, I'll make sure it gets in there. Okay, I'm going to do a Garamond. Let's do a 14. I can always make it smaller later. All right, so nationwide, I am going to make it smaller. So let's do it this way. We're going to select everything with the same font so that we don't have to keep messing with that default font. Okay. So in the first one, we're going to say Nationwide Booksellers Inc. Next one, we're going to merge 1, 2, 3 Main Street. Next one, merge. Okay, and bold. Then we're going to follow directions now, and we're going to space down 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, and do today's date. But we want it on the left, and we want business style, business letter style, right here. Okay, now I'm going to have to stretch my A a bit to get that out. And I'm going to shrink my G until it comes back. There we go. So I've got my date, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to put my customer's name and address. Okay, this takes a little practice to get fast at it, but I think you guys can do it. Remember, F3 has all of your data. It's all lined up. Okay, and you can access any of it by using the named ranges that you created. Okay, the named range and the spin value. So we're going to get the name by doing index, name, spin value. Then we're going to get the address, index, address, spin value. Now this one's going to be some concatenation, but we're going to get index, city, spin value, concatenate it with a comma space, concatenate that with index, city, state, concatenate with a space, and zip. Good. All right, now go down 2, and we're going to say, quote, equals, quote, dear, space, quote, concatenate. Okay, now we're going to take from the left, and we're going to get the name, spin value. Okay, and I'm going to take from that text the location of the space within the text name spin value. Okay, so once I find that number, I'm going to subtract 1 from it. So -1, and then I'm going to close my left function. Then I'm going to concatenate a colon, business style. So dear Kimmy. Okay, now I'm ready to type the big letter. So let's go down here. Look at our test. Our test says insert an ActiveX spin button at the top right of your letter. Okay, so developer, insert ActiveX spin button. There it is. Okay, view code. There's no code for that spin letter. So remember, we're on status letter. So if we go to customer master list, we're going to take this, copy it, go back to sheet 4, and paste it. All right, now we have to make change to the code to reflect the fact that we're on a different worksheet. So our range spin value isn't going to work unless we tell it which worksheets. And you have to use the plural. So customer master list dot. Okay, so what we're going to do is have to add that to each thing in here. So I'm going to copy it, paste, 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 paste. Okay, and any scrolling that we're doing had to do with that black bar that moved up or down. We don't have a black bar this time, so we're going to take out the active window stuff. All right, let's see if it works. So go back out here, and I need to get out of my design mode. And yeah, look at that, it works. So when I go up, I go to Kimmy, and then I go down through my records, and everything changes nice and fast. And that was easy. Okay, all I had to do was go to my customer master list, copy the code to sheet 4, add the worksheet customer master list dot reference to all of my range spin values and my range records. And then those 2 commands that had active window, I got rid of those. Now make sure that before you delete anything that you're looking at sheet 4. Otherwise you're going to delete the stuff that you want from sheet number 1, and that would be bad. Okay, so now we've got our VBA. Now it says space down 2 lines after the salutation and create a big merged cell. So I think that's big enough. I'll leave a little bit at the bottom and go home. Merge, wrap, don't forget the wrap, top align, and left justify. If you forget any one of those, you're going to see some odd effects. All right. Now, our large merge cell will contain one of 3 versions of a letter that we're going to write. Okay, so the letter we're going to write, if we go to instructions, here it is. Okay, so let's look at this letter and let's figure out, if we're going to put this into our document, what's the easiest way to find these various things that we're going to calculate. Okay, so 2 blank lines. I don't need customer's first name. We've already done the dear line. So let's start with the 2 blank lines. Okay, I'm going to call my 2 blank lines, let's make it easy. Let's say double. Okay, and then I'm going to say repeat character 10, which is a line return twice. That's my double. Okay, then I'm going to have a tab, and I'm going to say, watch out for that, repeat a space 10 times. That's going to be my tab. So I've got a double return and a tab. Let's go back. As of effective date, okay, I've already named effective date. It's called effective. But let's put it in here just so we can see it. Okay, so where should we put it? Let's put it at the top. So I'll just put a reference here to effective. And I'll format it as a long date so we can read it and see what's going on. And I'm going to merge these cells because I want to be able to keep things straight. All right. Instructions. Our city, state, store is seriously overdue. Okay, so now we need city and state. We want to avoid having all the index and other kinds of problems, but we're going to have to call it something else because we already defined something as city. So let's just call it city name, and I'll put my index city spin value here. That way I don't have all that cluttering up my formula. Now I'm going to have state name, NM, state name. Sorry if these are not working for you. You can use whatever you want. So we're going to say index state spin value. However, I want the state name. I don't want the abbreviation. So you look down here and there's a state lookup table. Ah, I gave you a lookup table. So let's look in the formulas. Name manager. Guess what else I gave you? State names is a lookup table that goes from A1 to C60. Good. All right, so you can use that in your status letter. You can say, instead of just index state spin value, you could say VLOOKUP. Start with the 2-letter. Okay, that's going to be your code. And then we're going to say state names. Okay, the answer I think was in the second column, and let's make it an exact match. And there it is, Indiana. And when I change, Huntsville, Tennessee, see it changing? Isn't that nice? Okay, that's nice. So now we have state name. So let's go back. City, state, full amount owed. Okay, so I'll say full amount. Well, this, of course, is going to be an index to the AR balance. And I can take the time here and format it by using the $ command. So there's the full amount. You can see what everybody owes just by clicking. All right. Whoops. What am I doing? Instructions. Here we go. All right, so you full amount. Now we're going to keep going. The oldest charge on the account was for, okay, what was the oldest charge on oldest date? All right, now I'll give you a little hint here. We're going to need to have 3 years or 3 oldest sales. Okay, so if we come in here and we can figure out the oldest one, so we'll say, we could say oldest. I don't think we used that word yet, did we? Oldest? No, we did. We did oldest sale. So we better just say old _1. All right. Now, this one is going to be a VLOOKUP to our pivot table with our last name first. So we're going to say VLOOKUP. Last name first. Okay, that's our key. The table, I think, was called oldest. And the number of our date is going to be 2. So we're going to want 3. And it's going to be exact. All right, so this should give us the oldest. So let's look for Kimmy. Pivot table. There's her oldest one, 48.7. Good. All right, now we're going to have to make sure that as we do this, let's go back to status letter. And this is where I told you if we're going to find the oldest second one and the oldest third one, there's a danger of finding a duplicate 148.7. Okay, so we have to know exactly where we are in this table, and then we can use the index function. So fortunately, the VLOOKUP will take us right to here, but we can also add some information to the line. So I'm going to make this record 1, 2, and then copy that all the way down to the bottom. And now if I go and take my oldest, so I'm going to go name manager to my oldest. Instead of ending at the E column, I'm going to end my VLOOKUP table at the F column. Yes, I do. So now I want, there's my key in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I do a VLOOKUP on 5, it will tell me what row that oldest date is on. So I'm going to do a VLOOKUP. Okay, my lookup value for this is going to be the last name first. Okay, my table array is oldest. My index now is on 5, and it's false exact match. Remember, VLOOKUP will only return numbers. So there, we're on number 1. So now for oldest number 2, it's just a simple matter of using the indexed function to go to that defined table. Okay, so my array was called oldest, and the row that I want is just going to be this 1 plus 1, and the column that I want is going to be, let's see, it's name, date, and amount. So column 3 will have the one underneath 148.7, and it does. And then I do the same thing again, and I say oldest, and I want the row that's this one plus 2 this time, and I want the column number 3. Okay, 148.7, look at those. Yep, and they're the same. Good. So we've got our top 3. Wonderful. All right, so as we're going back to instructions now, the oldest date. We need the date now. Okay, so what was the oldest date? Call it old date. Okay, that was a VLOOKUP with the last name first on my oldest, and it was the second column, and a false, and that date is hiding behind the format, so we're going to go, let's make it a long date. And I'm going to shorten that up again and just merge some cells so that we can see that date. There's my old date. All right, so we're good with old date. Okay, so we go along. After old date, we have customer more than 5 years. So I'll say, what should we call this? Old cust. Is that? There's lots of old here, but an old customer is one. Let's call it customer 5. Okay, so if we have a customer number, we're going to do an if statement. If the customer index okay, that's our customer. That does absolutely no good. Where's my mind going? Okay, so in index, what we need to know is the year they first did business. Okay, so that's the first year spin value. And we need to take the year function with today in it and subtract that number. Okay, and if the whole thing is greater than 5, we're true, otherwise we're false. Okay, so Kimmy, hey Dad, started 09, or let's see, she started 09, so she's not quite, let's see, 2009. Well, yeah, she's 7 years. So let's go back. So that's true, right? Okay. False. So that means Vanessa was 2012. Yep. So that looks to me like it's working. Another way to find out if that's working is to just evaluate using the formulas. So evaluate formula. Today's year is 2016. 2012. 4 is 4 greater than 5. That's false. Okay. So that's customer 5. Okay. Number of years as a customer. Figured we'd need that. Okay, so we're going to go customer years. Let's go customer years, which again, same, take today minus first year spin value. And that tells us We don't want today, we want the year of today. Sorry about that. And we'll take off the formatting so that it makes some sense. All right. So customer year is 4. But if we come up here, Kimmy's 7. So that works good. All right. So back to the instructions. All right. Customer years. Now we need the date next Friday. Okay. Now this one, you'll find I'm going to have to put it in your test. I don't think I did. So we're going to say next Friday. And next Friday, you take the effective date, okay, and we're going to add to it 7, which is the number of days of the week, minus whatever weekday we happen to be on tomorrow. And that, if I understand right how it works, should give us next Friday. So I'm going to merge and then give us a long date. There we go. That's next Friday. All right. To avoid having this account, we must receive the greater of the sum of the 3 oldest sales or 2,500 less the red amount. Wow. Okay, that's the big one. So let's go back here. We're going to have the avoid. We'll call it avoid. This is the amount of payment to avoid trouble. And it's going to be a choice between 2 things. So we're going to make it an if statement. And let's go back and figure out again. It says, what's bigger, the 3 oldest sales or 2,500 less red amount? So we can code that pretty easily. So what's bigger? If the sum of the 3 oldest sales is greater than the is it red amount first? Let's go back. Then red amount minus amount owed. If it's greater than, we want the greater. So here we'd want the sum of these 3. Otherwise, we want the red amount, which is 2,000, minus whatever it is they owe. Okay. And close that. And it looks like it would probably be wise. Let's see what it says. Yep. So we're going to put this whole thing inside the dollar to make sure it formats. All right. So if this is a red customer, we have to get the greater of the sum of the 3 oldest sales or 2,500 less red amount. So 2,500 less red amount at our offices prior to close of business. All right. I think that would probably be better instead of 2,500. That should be the amount we owe less the red amount. Or red amount less than what we owe. Because we're trying to get below 2,000. So I will make a change there. Don't worry about it. We'll come back up to status, and let's go to our red customer, okay, who is Shonda, and let's see how her letter. So for Shonda to avoid this, she owes $3,600. She would have to pay the sum of that or the red amount minus the status letter, or the 25. Maybe I was right. So I'll say 2,500 2,500. Oh, still wrong. Let's take the amount she owes and subtract that. There we go. Minus 2,500. Okay, so she's got to pay down 1,100 to get to. So why am I using 2,500? I should use the red amount. I was right the first time. Red amount. She needs to pay 1,600 to get down to 2,000. That's the right one. Okay, so the instructions need to say red amount less amount owed. There we go. Okay, so we've got that one done. Okay, state name. I think we have state name. Yep, we got state name. All right. And that'll give us our red. Okay, so now that we've got this all done, let's do it one paragraph at a time, very carefully. So I'm going to take this whole thing here, copy, bring it to my status letter, and I'm going to say equals tab. Oh, I have to name everything first. Okay. So now I'm going to take all of this. I temporarily have to unmerge these cells so that I can name them. And Control-Shift F3 from the left column. Done. I can put these back now as merged cells. And let's just double check. So if I say old date, and I give that a long date, and I were to merge, yep, it's working. All right. So we'll unmerge this, and we'll start typing. So Control V. Okay, so we can replace the tab of 10 spaces with the word tab and double quotes as of. Okay, so I closed by double quote and effective double quote, and double quote. Okay, now effective is not going to do much until we put it together as a date. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4 months, comma, 1 day, comma, y, and then close the text function. Okay, now I'm going to come here, double quote and I'm just going to say city name. Okay, and then I'm going to concatenate with a comma, space, and state name, and double quote, and we'll end right there. So it says store, currently O, double quote, and we'll say owed. What's the full amount we owe? Full amount, concatenate, double quote, start the period. The oldest charge on the amount was 4, double quote, and old one, which we should probably dollarize. So we'll just and double quote, and I'll put that in dollar. And double quote and oldest date would be old text, old date, comma, 4 months, day, 4 years, and double quote. And I think we got to get rid of that phony double quote, put a real double quote. There we go. Okay, I just had a big scare. So I'm going to go right now. I'm going to say File, Save. Okay. Now to get the next part, we go Instructions. But I should have realized this. We can't copy it here. We'll copy it up here. Okay, so now we come back to our status letter. F2 and Control V. Okay, so we're going to need a double space and a tab and an if statement. And our test is just going to be the customer 5 test, comma, double quote. So I'm going to start my customer 5 right here, as you have been our customer 4. And then I'm going to double quote and customer years and double quote. Okay, and then go down to this date here. Double quote and text next Friday. And put it in. So there's my text. And close my sentence. Good. All right. So now I'm going to put my comma. And I'm going to put a blank temporarily just to hold my place while I go out to Instructions and I get the second part. So I'm going to copy that, go back to status letter, hit F2. Okay, now I'm going to come back and paste. And I'm going to have my second sentence start right at the 2. We must receive, space, double quote, and what must they receive? The avoid. Whoops, not that one. Avoid. Okay, and double quote. That was a lot of work. We just did that entire amount at our office prior to next Friday. Close the if and enter. There we go. Okay, so as you've been our customer for 8, let's go back and fix that. As you've been our customer for 8 years, comma, space years, not, there we go. I will make the change in there. I'm going to pause real quick and make the change on the, okay, so now we've got our second one. Let's go back to our Kimmy. Kimmy's been a customer for 7 years, so she gets the nice version. And now we're going to have 2 blank lines and a tab. Okay, so I'm going to take this one for the next paragraph, copy, status letter, F2, and double, and tab, and double quotes. Please be advised, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And period, space, double quote. Okay, at this point, we're going to concatenate with an if statement that says whether we're in a bad state or not, which it looks like I missed that. So we're going to have to do something about that. So to protect all my stuff, I'm going to put double quotes before and after so Excel doesn't argue with me. I'm going to close that. It's still arguing with me. So I'll cut it in half. It's saying that I have too much text. So if I do a double quote and double quote, I've cut that thing that was okay. All right. So we're going to say bad state. And we're going to say if or we don't want to have to use that, so we'll just say index state spin value equals Texas, TX, or if index state spin value equals Idaho, ID, or if index state spin value equals TN for Tennessee, then say true. Otherwise, say false. So bad state, I'm going to name it bad state. There we go. All right, so let's go back, F2, and come back up here to where we should have an if. Take out that double quote. All right. If bad state, comma, then we're going to say state name, concatenate with double quote. If it was, okay, I'm going to take out those placeholders now. This letter constitutes notice, and you have until double quote, concatenate, text. We need next Monday. Okay, so I'm going to put the double quotes all the way off to the end here, comma, double quote, close, enter. That's going to stick there while I do my next 30 or Monday 30. How's that? Okay, so here we have effective, which is the date that we want to report. Effective. So we're going to take that date, we're going to add 30 days to it. Okay, and then we're going to add however many days are left until that next Monday. So 7 minus the weekday of our effective date plus 30. Okay, and we're going to make that so that Monday, let's see, if I say 2, I want Monday to be number 1, so that's going to be a 2 there. Close the weekday function, and then I'm just going to add 1 to the day, because it's going to leave me at Sunday to get me back to Monday. I will give you this formula, don't panic. Okay, and format that as long date just so we can make sure that it's a Monday, and it is. Okay, so we're going to go back, F2. Now let's go back carefully and find out where we need to splice this. So we're going to double quote and I didn't name it. So we're going to say Monday 30. Okay, can't use 30 Monday. Whew, that caused all kinds of troubles. So I'll just say 30. That ought to give us everything that we need. So I say 30. It still wants to call it Monday. So heavens. Go formulas, day manager, find Monday. Monday value 30. We're going to just get rid of that. Okay. And then we're going to say this date right here is referred to as 30. And now that it's named, you can see it. Okay, so now we can go back into F2 and we can say until double quote and text 30, comma, and then double quote, to dispute the debt, and that's our value if, okay, so let's make sure that's the value of true. So here's good. Okay, that's our good one. And then if they're not from a bad state, it's blank. Done. Enter. All right, so now we'll go back to instructions. We'll just copy all these. Actually, it's probably easier for me to talk it through. Okay, so what we're going to do at this point is we're going to double space. Then we're going to do 6 tabs over, and we're going to say sincerely, comma. Then we're going to double twice, and then we're going to repeat tab 6 times. Okay, and that now it's our signature. So our signature for the red was Nationwide Booksellers Inc. I think that was it. Oh, it's Legal Department. Nationwide Booksellers Inc. Legal Department. So all we have to do now is skip 1 line. That's a character 10. We're going to tab in 60 spaces and then say Legal Department. There's our letter. Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to come up here. We're going to type red. Actually, let's give it some space here, just in case. So red. And we're going to put everything we've done, this whole thing. Let's do a copy, escape, paste. Okay, remember, copy, escape, paste. And we'll call that red. Done. Okay, so now we're going to go back to our big cell, and we're going to do our yellow. Okay, but I noticed something here that I want to fix. So let's go back, and if we're looking at red, see that reference right there? That needs to be on the date. So we're going to fix that before we go do yellow by going to Name Manager, deleting 30, and then remember we've got to unmerge before we name, and this cell is going to be named 30. That one caused a lot of trouble, so we'll now push that off. Okay, so now let's do our yellow cell. Our yellow cell is kind of tricky because it operates in a kind of a middle ground. Either you're green or you're red, but if you're neither, you're yellow. So we're going to have to look at our 2 tests of credit worthiness here and do tests for each one, and then decide how our letter is going to be prepared. So let's go get our first paragraph and paste it. Let's put an equal so it knows it's a formula. See what happens here. Let's put double quotes. Double quotes. It's probably too long, so in the middle I'm going to do a double quote and double quote so that this is a concatenation of 2 strings. Good, that worked. That brought it in. Okay, so we have 2 tests we have to test for that would put it into the red condition. Okay, the easy one is we're over limit or we're over days. Okay, so if we're over limit, then let's do an if. If index of our, or no, Do it easier than that. So if full amount is greater than red amount, then this is true, otherwise it's false. That is not over, so I guess we can't use that because it's formatted already. So we'll replace that with index, AR balance, comma spin value, false. Okay, so let's see if we can. 2100, true. 943, false. All right, over days. So now we'll go and we'll say if index days overdue, comma, spin value is greater than 235, this is true. Otherwise, we're false. True, false. Okay. So our days overdue, let's take a look here. Tona is at 225 and we're looking for 235, so she's okay on both. So she's going to be false for both. False, false. So if she's false for both, that just means that she's not green. And if she's not green, then we just have to tell her, hey, let's take a look at our credit account, pay attention to how much we owe. All right, so let's do this. We're going to use a tab. We're going to concatenate with the sentence. All right. Then we're going to take the effective date and put it in. So double quote and text effective month, day, year. All right. And double quote. After the date, we should have a comma. Your credit account at our double quote and city is city name and comma space double quote and state name and double quote. Should probably be a comma there. Store is space double quote. And now we have our if. So let's do this one right. So if we are over limit, comma, didn't turn colors, we didn't name them. So what I'm going to do now, well, let's just type it out and then we'll name them in a minute. So over limit, so if it's over limit, we're going to take the AR balance, spin value. Okay. And we're going to want to know how much of it's over 2,000. So we'll take dollar because we're going to make this formatted, and we're going to take what we owe minus the red amount. Okay. And then concatenate that with the rest of that sentence. So we're some amount, double quote, comma, over your account spending limit, period. All right, so if the over limit's not true, then we've got two questions. So looking down here, drawing your attention to the, so as soon as I hit the comma, I'm now doing my false situation. So now I'm going to say if, and I'm going to say over days. Okay, if over days is true, then we need to take the index of our days overdue and subtract from it red days and concatenate with a sentence that says space days delinquent. So I'll just come up here. It's already typed. Days delinquent. Okay. So that's our true. And if it's not over days, then we're just going to say nothing because they're false on both. So we close that if, and then we close the big if, and then we concatenate with our records show that you currently owe, concatenate with full amount, it's already formatted, and concatenate with a comma, and your oldest charge was for double quote and dollar old one and double quote space on space double quote and our oldest date was text old date comma and the whole thing gets concatenated with a period. Oh gosh, that was a little more complicated than I thought it would be. Alright. And it did the name because we said we would come back later and name this over limit, enter, and this one over days, enter. Good. Okay, I'm jumping in after the fact because I found an error that needs to be corrected. And that error is that we have 3 different conditions on our yellow letter here. If the credit account is over limit, we say how much they were over limit. If they were over days, we say how many days delinquent. But if they were nothing, you'll recall what I told you to do just now. So let's go here and hit F2. And we're going to go into yellow. What we did is we just left, look right here at the cursor, we left a blank. Okay, we need to have some text for that third situation. So we're going to say here that your credit account at our Nashville, Tennessee store is, I think we'll need a space, approaching the limits of your credit agreement. Now you can see that I'm working from the yellow down here, but if you are following along from the main video, you'll want to make the change right there, F2 in your main section. So when I hit enter, okay, I had one too many spaces there, so I'm going to go back and take that space out. There we go. Now it makes more sense. As of September 15th, your credit account at our Nashville, Tennessee store is approaching the limits of your credit agreement. It had to say something. Okay, so the other ones, let's see, let's find somebody who was, yeah, your credit account is 8 days delinquent there, or your credit account is $100 over your account spending limit. Okay, I don't want that comma there, so we're going to go back in here and take the comma out. I think that's better. All right. Hopefully I'm good enough with this video editor that I can splice this in. Okay, so since Tona failed, she's not red, but she's not green, so we just wrote a regular. Let's find someone else. Okay, Glennie was over days, so she says 8 days delinquent. Shonda was over the limit, so she shows 16,000 over your spending limit. Excellent. All right, so that's our first paragraph, I think. So we will go back up to Kimmy and to our instructions. And we'll take this sentence, Control copy, go to a status letter, F2, and we're going to take a double space and a tab, and then double quote, we appreciate your, double quote, and cust years, and double quote, we need the word years here, so it'd be, years would be like 7 space years, of being our customer and would like to prompt payment of double quote and okay, we'll have the dollar of old 2 plus old 3. Gosh, I love that dollar function. And should bring your account current. And all we need is that double quote there. Okay. All right. So far, so good. I think we have another sentence. We're not in green yet. Okay. Special offer today based on customers of 7 years. Okay, so we're going to take this, copy, status letter, F2, and double, and tab, and double quote. As a special offer today, we will extend to you a space, double quote, and if, and our thing is whether customers over 7 years. So if cust years greater than 7, comma, double quote, 50%, double quote, otherwise, double quote, 25%, double quote, close the if, concatenate with double quote space 4 to discount, done. Okay, and back to instructions. And now we're going to do the accounts receivable department. Again, easy just to walk through it. Okay, so we're going to double space. We're going to tab 60 into the middle. So tab 6 times. And in the middle, we're just going to say sincerely, comma. Then we're going to double space twice. Tab 6 times. And say Nationwide Booksellers Inc. And go down 1 line and repeat tab 6 times and say credit department. I think that's what it said. Said accounts receivable. Alright, so we'll change that. Accounts receivable. Alright, now we have successfully done yellow. So we're going to copy that, escape, paste, yellow. This is red, and this one is yellow. Alright, now the green. So we come back, delete all of that, go to instructions, and we're going to get the green. Copy it, equals, paste, quote at the end, tab at the beginning, and double quote. We appreciate your business. You have, okay, what amount of available credit? So let's hit enter. And what we're going to do is we're going to take that red amount of 2,000 and subtract whatever our full balance is. So we will F2. So double quote and we're going to put it inside the dollar function. So red amount minus index AR balance. Spend value. Close the dollar. And double quote, available for purchases on our website. Great. Okay, back to instructions. Now we have an if. We have customers over age 40. Copy. Go back. F2. So we're going to double space and tab. Bring in our new. So we're going to have an if. And I don't think we did the age of the customer yet. So I'll just put the name and we'll do it later. So cust age greater than 40, comma. And there's the sentence. We'll give you a, there's another little if for the discount. If cust years greater than 7, then we're going to get a 50%. Otherwise, 25%. And concatenate with space on your next credit purchase of up to 75. Okay, that's our true condition. Now our false condition, I'm going to close this. I'll make a double quote so that we can go take our false condition, which is this. Okay, so false is, please find and close a sample. See you soon. That's it. So now we need the customer's age. Okay, so cust age. And this is the integer version of the year fraction of the customer's birthday, which is index birthday spend value minus today. Too few arguments. Oh, it's not minus today, it's comma today. There we go. So customer age. Alright. Pause it if you want to look at that. And that should, as soon as we name it, sorry, so 47 gets named cust age. There we go. Now we've got it. So all we need now, you're almost done, home stretch, is thank you for your business and your name followed by national booksellers. Great, we know how to do this now. So F2, so double space and tab 6 over and sincerely and 2 doubles and repeat your tab 6 times and your name and a 1 line and 6 tabs and that should do it. Great. Okay, so we're going to take this one now, copy, escape, Control V, call it green, and name it green. Alright. So where are we now on our checklist? Now we've got to make them spit out right. Okay, so I'm going to now ask a question. Okay, and we're going to start with are and. Okay, and our question is the AR balance greater than read amount, comma, is the days overdue greater than read days? Okay, and I need a, there we go, days overdue greater than read days, comma. If it is, we do read. If it's not, we ask if green is true. So if red is false, or if red's true, then we're going to say if or index AR balance spin value is, and I believe that our green condition, I'm looking at my test right now to make sure, is less than $50. Okay, so if that's less than 50, okay, the next one will be index days overdue spin value, close it, less than or equal to 215 days. Okay, if that or is true, then we're green. Otherwise, we're yellow. Close that if statement. Close the main if statement. And let's see if it works. Too few arguments. Index days over. I did that again. Comma, spin value. All right, so Kimmy is green. Let's go customer master list. Yes, she's green. Vanessa is yellow, so let's go down to yellow. Okay, so Vanessa gets the yellow because she wasn't green, so there's nothing up here about an over limit or over days. Green, oop, this one's red. It's actually black, but it comes out with a, look at that. So this tells me one more thing. Okay, so we're going to go back, and I thought we could avoid this, but we can't. So let's be consistent and do it right. So we're going to put all of this inside another if. Okay, so if index AR balance spin value is greater than credit limit, comma, and then we'll have some kind of message. What should we say? Do not send any letter. Account must be investigated. How's that? Because if she's got a, yeah, we've already talked about this. All right, so if that's not true, then use that other if that we just came up. And what a great way to finish an advanced Excel class with a 4-level if statement. Okay, the dangers of butt fatigue got to me, and I made a mistake here that we're going to correct. Obviously, we don't want the 50 there. Okay, instead of the 50, we want the green amount. And instead of the 215, we want the green days. Okay, and everything will still work fine. So now we can go on and we're truly done, and everything is shipshape. Man, that's good. Okay, so we'll hit enter. Shonda's got to get investigated. But everyone else Whoops, Glennie's not getting investigated. Everybody else just shows up. And it does all kinds of stuff based on what we need. It does it pretty fast. So save your work. Okay. Bring in your check the box. Save everything. Upload it to Instructure. And you are done. Congratulations.